Good evening, and we are live. Yeah, I know. I've been live a lot lately, but I feel like with some of these topics and these discussions and the ways that I like to do things, going live is optimal. And so, one thing I want to talk about in the tech space, and this is kind of brought up of things that have been going on in Twitter, but I think just in general, the way that technology works, and I'm not even talking about necessarily this can pertain to all sorts of categories, and it doesn't have to pertain just to content creation, but I think a life lesson in general is the idea that I'm not right and you're not wrong. Differences in experiences. So what does that mean? I want to start off by saying that we all create different content and we all have different life experiences and we all do different things, whether we're talking about technology and doing reviews or we are experiencing these devices together. Hey, Pitar. Um, our experiences are what make our content unique. It's what makes our lives unique. It's what makes these things not boring. Because I know that there's been a discussion about technology being boring, but I want to talk about how this pertains to more than just that. For example, if you're an artist and you do things a particular way and the outcome is a particular way, or your style is a particular method, it doesn't make it right or wrong. Just because somebody does things differently, just because somebody has a different experience or portrays an item a different way, doesn't make that right or wrong. Doesn't make it's this whole idea that like somebody's lying about something or being paid about something that I think is a very wrong way to perceive things. And in ways that we look at this can be very vindictive and it can be demeaning to ourselves and to other content creators and to other people based on the perception of how we look at this. So, what I mean is, if you're watching one of my videos or you're watching anybody else's videos and I say something and you're like, well, that's not my experience, well, share that down below. But don't call somebody a liar. Don't go on Twitter and being like, oh, this person is, full of crap because they had a different experience. Share your experience, but don't let that invalidate theirs, because then their experience, on the other hand, should invalidate yours. If you want to take this as like a tat for tat, a quid pro quo, like a, me for you, you for me experience, are trying to excuse their item because they had a pleasant experience and the other person didn't, or they're trying to invalidate the pleasantries of other people's experiences because their experience was not so good or was better. And so Dirk Tech says, I find more often it's viewers who question people's experience. Just look at the comments under my Pixel 6 refund video. Yes, that's, but the idea of like questioning it is okay. But I've come to realize lately that this experience, it's like people act like only one person is having an issue. They see like a big creator, and I'm going to talk about, like, for example, MKBHD came back and was talking about the Pixel 6 and he was having some issues still, and people are like, well, he should have gotten a different device, maybe it was a hardware malfunction. So what if it is? That's his experience. What if I bought the Pixel 6 like now, used from somebody, and I can't I'm not going to be able to necessarily go to Google. What if I can't be without that device? I buy this device, and that's my experience. That's not a good situation. So it needs to be discussed. It needs to be called out. It needs to bring in mind that maybe these companies should take more time before releasing software, before releasing hardware. I've actually experienced this. Patar says, when I say question, I mean they outright called me a liar and a fraud. I had somebody say that Samsung should sue me, and they called me a liar because of the experience I had with my Galaxy Book Pro 360, because I called them out about how they advertised it and the experience that I had, and how they talked about, oh, you could do this and this with it, and like I was trying to edit 4K 60 footage and I couldn't. And they're like, well, you need to use Sony this and that because, you know, Flossie does 1080p 60 videos. He doesn't edit in 4K, and he isn't using the same camera or same footage as I am, and good for him. But like, I even was trying to edit 1080p 30 on software that can use CPU or GPU stuff, and it wasn't working. Like, so don't use somebody else's experience to necessarily invalidate somebody else's. Look at all the experiences and look at how we all treat these devices. But it comes to, I think this is a life lesson. So when one of my sayings is I don't only talk tech, but I live it. And what I mean through that is I want to talk about how I live technology in a way that, like, it's not just an experience for me, but like, we should all live our technology in a way that we understand that there's going to be flaws. Like, if you expect a device to be perfect, no matter how much you pay for it, that's like saying, well, my spouse should be perfect because they have, you know, or, you know, this person should be perfect because they make more money than this person, and so this other person doesn't have to be as perfect. Like, where does this come into play? Of where does this end? And so Lewis says people want validation on their purchases. Once that is not in line with their purchases, they're ready to call you out. Exactly. People have this perception that because you have an issue with it, that you're saying like they shouldn't buy it or it's crap. It's like, experience and opinion is not fact. And just because somebody says something doesn't mean that they're lying. Truth and lies are perception, and they're relative to your experience. That's why there's a difference between truth and fact. And when it comes to like legality aspect, I could give you an instance in which both people are correct, but one is a lie, but one is fact and one is not, but both people are telling the truth, and blow your minds with that. Think about, yes, identity to brands. Yep, I think we all do it. We all have unnatural biases, and I've called people out. I blocked somebody today because they were constantly being negative about somebody's review, but the way that they were doing it was in a matter of like acting like the person never criticizes any other company, and they do. It's just like, you can't expect them to make shit up and to like criticize a company if they haven't had an experience. So what I want you all to think about is, you have person A and you have person B, and they're standing on opposite ends of a roof on a building, and they're up there, and there's a pole in between them. And that pole is linearly 50 feet. It's right in the middle of them, and it's straight, but it's out. It's at an angle, and somebody's standing behind that pole. And then there is another person that's standing, making a line. So you have a person here, and you have a person here, here and here. The pole's up here. And then there is a person that both people can see that's up here. And then there's another person off at an angle behind person A, at an angle making a line through person A, through person C that's behind the pole, and then there's person D up here, right? That's up here. And person A goes and testifies in court that the shot came from behind them at an angle and took out person D. But person B testifies, no, the shot came from behind the pole. I saw it. The person pointed his gun. I heard it go off, and it took out the person. To both of them, that is the truth, because person over on this side, over here, could not see the other person back there. And they saw the gun. They heard the shot. It was the same type of gun. The other person dropped. This is where perception, this is where angles, this is where your standing brings a difference. And this is where it's relative, but they're both telling the truth. But one is a fact. The fact is actually that this person was taken out by somebody else. But they're both telling the truth because from their point of view, from their knowledge, from their perception, from what they saw and heard and experienced, it was two different things. And so when we talk about reviewing technology and we talk about shared experience and we talk about life, I think it's important that we understand that everything is perceptive and everything is relative to your situation, your need, your experience, your thought, your bias, and the outcome to you. Everybody sees the same outcome when they're looking at that person reviewing it, but look at your own perception and look at your own experiences and see which direction that comes from, and maybe see other people's point of view and look and be like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, for example, we're seeing all varied coverage right now. I'm seeing varied coverage about the OnePlus 10 Pro. And I'm seeing people praising it, and I'm seeing people like hating it, and I'm seeing all this thing. But even then, like Lewis brings up, it's different if multiple people who own that particular device have the same problem, then I'll call that a known issue. People need to differentiate between that aspect. This is true as well. And like the idea of, for example, some of the Pixels for years, there was some of them that had a purple screen issue, some of them that had an orange screen issue. And people excuse it. Like, I was trying to buy a Pixel 2, I was trying to buy a Pixel 3, and I kept finding ones that were like, oh, yeah, it's in great condition, but it has the discolored screen, or it has burn-in, or it has this and that. And so I think that we all need to see the person's point of view and the perception. Varied coverage is good. Everyone looking at it from a different angle, giving consumer multiple thinking points before purchasing to consider. Exactly. And everybody has a different use. So if the person you go to watch doesn't use, maybe, for example, you have somebody that might just literally use their phone as basically a phone. They text on it, they call on it. They might watch a little YouTube and do a little gaming, but most of everything they do, maybe they do most of their gaming at a computer or on a console, and they do most of their other email checking, and they do most of their stuff at a computer, and so it doesn't matter how fast it is. It doesn't matter, and it might not even matter how good the cameras are, because maybe they use a dedicated camera all the time. That person isn't the person's video you want to watch if you're the one that uses your device to do everything. But on the other hand, if you want to know about battery life and how it's going to last when you're just doing minimal stuff like that in day-to-day work and maybe some like business work, you're checking some emails, you're sending some texts, you're, responding to your significant other, or, letting your kid's school know, that you are volunteering for an event or this and that. That's your experience. And that's why it's hard for us to really look at a device and be like, what experience am I going to have until I use it? Because everybody else has a unique experience, and it's unique to their situation, just like in life, and it's tied in. And I think that there's so much judgment about how we experience a product, about how we perceive things, about how we perceive ourselves, about how we perceive each other. And just people need to stop calling each other out, and people need to stop like hindering another person's experience just because your experience was bad. Like, for example, if I went by the experiences I've had with most devices, I would never own an Android device, because every company I've tried, OnePlus, I've tried Xiaomi devices, I've tried Huawei devices, I've tried all this stuff. Have a good time. I guess get some sleep, Patar. I know it's 2 a.m. there. Maybe I should start doing maybe I'll start doing some earlier streams, like midday streams for my overseas fans. Like when my son's taking naps and stuff. I should do that. So the idea of, I forgot what I was saying. Okay, so I've used all these different companies' devices, and I've had really bad experiences with Samsung, like camera-wise and shutter lag and all this stuff. And camera's important to me, so if I let that experience define Samsung and never gave them another chance, I would never use it again. OnePlus, I had the 6T, I had the 7T, I had the 8, the 8 Pro, the 9, and I had nothing but carrier cell issues up until I had the 9, and then it was okay. And then with my Pixel, I've had issues. With my Samsung, I've had cell signal issues. My iPhone, I've had the least issues, and then there's been people that have had tons of issues with it. So it depends on what is going on with this. It depends on what we're doing. It depends on what you use for your device. And I think that this is the problem, when we, and I think the other thing is we need to look at this when we respond to the comments and not necessarily be so nasty, because some of us can be real nasty when we reply to comments. And you know what? People are going to comment and people are going to get under your skin, but like that flack back, it might look cute to other people. But if you're ever really wanting to be taken seriously, if you're going to be that person that's going to be like, oh, I can be an asshole because companies are still going to work with me, it's not a good look. Hi, Jason. Yes, experience is a unique as each set of eyes looking at the device. Hey, Dale Vaughn. So when we talk about perception and we talk about experience and we talk about relatability, and one of the things that I saw that like Shelly Saves the Day was talking about, and relating to your viewer, and how I relate to you all, is I like to have these discussions, and I like to make tech discussions more than just about the devices, and kind of discuss how these experiences in relation to this, and see, this is me living technology, not just the device, not just the product, but the experience, the perception. This is me as a viewer. This is me acknowledging the viewers. This is me acknowledging each other. This is me acknowledging people. And I think this is important. I think this is something that people fail to do when they're making videos. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'm just going to put it out there and I always get a ton of views and this and that. And you have people that like big channels, right? That no matter what they say, no matter what they do, people are going to hate on them. Duh. But even as like a smaller channel, it happens to me. And I think that it's important to be critical, and it's important to like look at things with a fine-tooth comb, and it's important to perceive things in a certain manner, and it's important to not take things as like, oh, this is your experience, so this is the way it's going to be for me. But it's also important to be like, oh, that was their experience, cool, this was different than other people, so maybe I will give it a try because they had a pleasant experience. Or you know what, one person has had a pleasant experience, but then like everybody else is having a bad experience, and that one person that had a pleasant experience was when the device first came out, and now software updates have fixed it, or these issues have come out, or they're using, everybody else is using different software and they're having issues. Or maybe it's the other way around, this person had an issue, but then now it's 6-8 months later, and everybody that's reviewing the device now and talking about it and giving updates is having a pleasant experience. This is why these are not, I don't like seeing these videos as reviews, and I don't like people perceiving them as fact or true or a one and done or 100% a surety of, or like a conclusive. It's not conclusive to the experience that everybody's going to have, and it's not conclusive to my experience, your experience. And that's what's interesting. So like I'll get in debates and discussion, or I'll get in discussions with people, and people will come at me like, oh no, you're wrong. It's like, I'm not sharing my experience about something with somebody to invalidate theirs. Or like somebody says like, hey, I think this is better than this, and I'll go, well, I think, you know, or like come back at them. I'm not invalidating their experience, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm sharing like, you know, how I use it, it's been better this way and this way, or like things that I've noticed that maybe that person didn't think about, maybe that person didn't notice. And that's what I enjoy about being a content creator, is we all have unique experiences and we can all share it, but we can all get along, and we don't have to like, you know, attack each other, and we don't have to call each other names, and we don't have to make fun of each other, and we don't have to be cruel, you know. We can all, you know, change the way that we do this. We can all have a seat at the table. We can all eat. There's, you know, we can all do this together and get along and have a happy experience and enjoy our technology, and we can all love it, and we can all do what we're going to do. You know, we can all have fun with it. I mean, I could come, you know, I like to write poetry, and I like to do off the cuff stuff. You know, I enjoy coming on here and talking to you all, you know, whether there's 4 people watching or 20, whether you all watch now or you watch in the replay. It's all off the cuff. No truth, no lies, no bluff. I don't have to curse and holler. I can teach and I can preach, and I can make you all a scholar. I don't have to be the world. I don't need to make a change. But it all adds up in a world to more than just the dollar. It doesn't matter how much you pay. It doesn't matter how much you earn. And I'm here today to help you all learn. I can write and I can rhyme. I can cite lyrically and clerically, and I can keep up with the rhyme. I can break down and take down and keep up with the notes. I don't need to cast or share a pod or be on an anchor to keep us afloat. I'm not out here with buoys, and I'm not up on a boat. I'm not here to shout, to holler, or gloat. I'm living the high life. I don't have to take a toke. I can keep track of my life. I can carry it all in a tote. But, you know, when it comes to the end of the world and I'm 6 feet down below, I'll have nothing but memories that I've passed on to you all. And you know what I gotta say is I've had such a ball. And then when I don't even know, when I don't know how to run, but I just started to crawl and I'm learning and I'm yearning. And I hope that I keep heads turning and I look up to the sky and I look up to the clouds and it starts to rain and I feel hunger and I feel the child's pain. And that is doesn't know what it matters. But for me, sitting in this flannel and preaching in my channel, and I know that someday my son will look back and he will see all this and he will say, for all those who doubted you, for all those who are the rainy cloud to you, I am proud of you. And that is what is amazing about shared experiences in the way that mind perceives and shared technology through words, through the sheep, through the herds, through the ancient, the greatest, the goats, through life, through crime, through what you may hope. And some may say yes, and I just say nope. But I hope that you preach, and I hope that you leave, and I hope that you share these experiences with me. And I hope that you live and you take and you give, but I hope that you never take more than you need and you never give less than you can. But I don't have to sit here and ask and beg. I'm not asking with a pan, but I give and I take and I learn as I can, and I hope that someday you'll just stand up and give me a hand. Bad experience can be fatal for a device too. Often people experience something bad, then the device is forever labeled. It's like going to a bad restaurant to get bad food and you're not going back. This is the truth. The experience that we have is more than the device a lot of times too. Sometimes it's how the company holds it up and how the company protects you if you have a problem. If you have an issue, if you have to go with it fixed, it's that experience behind it, that customer service. And sometimes, though, we have to remember not to have these experiences and continue to dwell. But it's also to remember that it's not always well. Sometimes we're in tech heaven, but other times we're in tech hell. Sometimes we don't even know when to get back up after we fell. Sometimes we don't even need to write the words down and we can barely even spell. Sometimes it's just an experience that stinks, but I don't even know that smell. Sometimes we give up and sometimes we give praise. Sometimes we don't even know because we see through a cloudy eyes with haze. But sometimes we live in lives and sometimes we live each moment, but we forget about the day. Sometimes we live in seconds and sometimes we live in years, but sometimes we are blind to what other hears. But sometimes we are visually impacted, but sometimes we don't even know how to see, how to believe. What we do understand is what we understand and what we teach and what we've fallen by man, but we don't even know. What we've believed and we've trusted in another, because you know what? In this world we have nothing but each other, my sister, my brother, my mother, my father. But why in the hell do some people even bother? Because some people give up on this tech. Some people give in. Some people don't even know how to lose, how to win. But some people just have fun and sit here until the day is done. And some people are crazy like me, just spitting words, spitting lyrically, satirically, clerically, preaching and reaching and grabbing for words, but don't even know some of these come out as just turds, and some of these are flocking and walking and coming up as herds. But, you know, I can sit here and spin, and I can sit here and win, and I can sit here and come out as what I've been told, and I can sit here until days are grays and hairs are old, and I can sit here and preach, and I can sit here and rap and rhyme. But what I will say is my experience is mine and yours is yours until the end of time. And I can bring it around and bring it all together. And I can say that what you've heard in my words is that we all flock together because we all share this life and we all share this experience and this joy and this love for technology. We are all of man and of human biology, but we all come from a different experience and we all go to another and we all share it together. And I know that you've heard this and probably don't want to be smothered, but if I can spill it and dill it and I can give each man a chance and I can throw out the cards and do a funky dance and I can share this together and I can end this live stream with a little semblance of hope and a little bit of gleam. And I can hope and pray that you understand exactly what I mean. As a teacher, a preacher, a college of knowledge, on the list of a dean, but I'm spitting fire and some might call me a fiend, and I've heard somebody say that I have a voice that should be on NPR and I didn't even know what they mean, but I'm glad that you're all here and I'm glad that you all join me. And let's start from the top of the list with Direct Tech, Lewis, Shark Fin, Mark Sequence, Jason C., all of you, Delvon Digital, who come to join me in this pleasantries and this rap and this rhyme. And as I sit here until the end of time, and I know I've repeated some of these, and I know I'm in repetition, but let's put our hands together, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and head out with me as I make this transition and join Ike in 8 minutes over on his channel. Thank you, and I bid you adieu, and all I will say is that I don't only talk tech, but I live it. And I hope that you all do so as well. I will see you all on the next live stream. This was impromptu. Next one probably be Sunday. And then, of course, Wednesdays as always at 8 p.m. Good night, good evening. Peace out. Feel free to share the replay, tweet out the links, and God bless.